He had millions and millions and millions and millions and more millions.
Matt Cox and Rebecca Hawk.
Matt says, I gotta get out of here, I gotta leave, you wanna come?
The Bonnie and Clyde of mortgage fraud.
His plan was to get as much as he can and go somewhere else and do it. And go somewhere else and do it.
Yeah, at that point I really did. I thought, they'll never catch me.
What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So I got the legend Matt Cox on the channel again. I told you guys I was going to be bringing you part 2 to the episode that he already did. Before you watch this interview, you should go check out that episode so you're up to date on what happened with his crimes. If you're new and you're tuning in for the first time, hit that subscribe button and turn your post notifications on. So, man, for the people that don't know who you are, that, haven't watched part 1 and may never watch it, if you could just give like a brief description on what your crime was and, where you were at in your story.
It's basically bank fraud. I committed, by this point in the story, I was already on probation. I'd committed $11.5 million in bank fraud in Tampa. The FBI showed up to raid my office, and I had taken off on the run. I knew a couple days before they were coming, and I took off on the run. So I immediately went to I had like 80 grand. So I needed more money than that. You can't successfully go on the run with 80 grand. So what I did was I went to I went to Atlanta, and I rented a place. And I borrowed like $450,000 on a piece of property, pulled the money out in another guy's name, and then took off. Immediately went to South Carolina, and I rented a place. I was living in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a really nice fucking condo, like a fucking right downtown.
High rise.
It was nice. Yeah, it was great. So, but
are you wanted at this time?
Oh yeah. Okay. By this point, there have been ultimately there was probably 40 or 50 articles about me, but at this point there was maybe 4 or 5 articles where they were talking about the raid. They talked about all the fraud in Florida and Tampa and how they were looking for me. So, and then of course the Secret Service when I got the $400,000 in Atlanta and took off, the Secret Service showed up like a week or 2 later. So now there was a bunch of articles. They initially indicted me in Atlanta as John Doe, but then they figured out who I was.
Yeah.
So there was newspaper articles and news program saying that the Secret Service was looking for John Doe, because by this point Secret Service is involved. So then I go to South Carolina. I go to North Carolina. I'm living in North Carolina. I drive to South Carolina to Columbus, and I buy 2 properties. I end up buying this one property. I borrow like 1.3 million on the property, and I go into a bank, and so that's where I left off last time. I was in the bank. I'd been handcuffed in the bank and placed in the manager's office. And so the detective comes in. So I got these 2 huge sheriff's deputies, and they were like, look, we were detaining you. We're waiting for a detective. And I'm thinking the FBI's coming.
When that happened and that thought went through your head, did you think it was all over at that point?
I kept thinking I was done. I kept thinking, well, something, I kind of thought I was fit, like this is it. But they kept calling me Gary Sullivan, which was the name of the guy I'd stolen his identity. He was like a homeless prostitute that I'd surveyed.
A gay homeless prostitute.
A gay homeless prostitute that I'd surveyed.
Throwing a hot dog down a hallway.
So I had surveyed him, and I got his information. I got a real ID in his name, and I bought 2 houses in his name, satisfied the mortgages on the houses, and borrowed $1.3 million. About 5 or 6 different banks. When I got grabbed in Wachovia, I was sitting down, I'm waiting, but they're still calling me Mr. Sullivan. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, hey, we're waiting for the investigator to come. And I kept thinking the FBI, because I don't know the difference between an investigator and at that time.
I would have thought the FBI too.
Right. That's the Secret Service and FBI are looking for me, so I'm assuming the FBI is coming. He says investigator, I'm thinking of an agent. I don't know the difference. So anyway, this guy walks in, gray suit, and he walks in, he says, hey, I'm, investigator or detective so-and-so from the Columbus Police Department or something. or sheriff's office or something. I was like,
So at that point you knew this was a detective.
right, but I'm still, and he's like, Mr. Sullivan, I'm so-and-so, and still Mr. Sullivan. And I'm thinking, and I was handcuffed like this. So I'm like, I'm sitting there, and he goes, wanted to let you know that, we're just detaining you. And I go, am I under arrest? And he goes, no, you're just being detained. I go, well, listen, bro. I showed him my handcuffs. I said, I feel like I'm under arrest. Like, and he goes, no. He goes, you know what? Take those off him. And
that's when you knew.
He takes them off me. I knew when I looked at him, and I said, what's going on, man? And he said, well, the head of Wachovia's fraud department contacted us and said that you were running a scam or of some kind, and he said that you've got 3 mortgages. I actually had technically I had 7 mortgages, but I had borrowed 5 mortgages, but they'd only caught 3 of them. So he said that you have 3 mortgages on the property, and I went, is that illegal? Like, what am I going to say? I mean, I got to act dumb. I looked at him and I went, is that illegal? And he goes, I don't know. And that's when I thought, oh, I'm walking out of here.
Crazy.
He doesn't have a fucking clue. This guy's like 30-something years old. He was like probably in his late 20s.
So he's like a rookie kind of.
Doesn't have a clue. Like, you can explain what I was doing to mortgage brokers and real estate agents, and they don't have a clue what I'm doing, and they work in the industry. So I know this guy doesn't know what's going on. So I was like, okay. And I said, right. I said, I don't understand. He said, well, what did you do? What's going on? He said, let me get him on the phone. Then I start thinking, fuck. This guy.
To get the
head of the head of Wachovia.
Yeah, I would have thought that.
Not the head of Wachovia, the head of Wachovia's fraud department on the phone. So I'm thinking, fuck. He gets him on the phone, and he's talking to him, but I can hear him. And he's like, listen, this is what he did. He borrowed the money. He borrowed mortgages from our bank and 2 other banks. He closed them on the same day, and he got more money than the house is worth. And then he pulling the money out, and they're all first mortgages. And I go, what's going on? He goes, well, he says that you have 3 first mortgages on the house. And by the way, a mortgage is a first, second, and third, fourth mortgage is determined based on when it was recorded. It has nothing to do with the document. So it doesn't say it on the document.
Oh, okay.
So you know it's the first. Why? Because it's the only one there. You know it's the second. Why? Because it came in after the only. So now it's the second document on there.
I didn't know that.
I looked at. So I go, well, I don't. That doesn't make sense. I said I read all of the mortgages, and I said none of them said they were first mortgages. The guy on Wachovia is like, I go, so they weren't first mortgages. They're just mortgages. And he goes, yeah. He's like, he starts yelling. He's like, okay, well, he said he read them. He goes, do they say first mortgage? He's like, well, no. And he's like, well, and then he goes, well, why did he borrow 3 mortgages anyway? And he goes, why did you borrow 3 mortgages? And I went, well, I borrowed them because I need to get out a few $100,000 so I can buy some more properties. I said, I own another property here. He goes, yeah, that's right. You own one on like Holloway Drive or whatever it was. I was like, right. He goes, and then this one. I said, right. And I said, I was going to buy some more properties. I'm investing. And so I came here. The loan officer at Wachovia, I told her I need to borrow like $500,000 so I can, pull out some cash and buy these other properties. And she said, listen, I can refinance, or I can get you $180,000 or $190,000 on this property, but I can only let you get so much out.
So for the people that are watching, because your crime is so convoluted and everything, explain to them what you mean by you were taking out multiple mortgages to buy more property.
I was trying to get loans so I could get a bunch of money so I could buy more properties. That's what I'm telling them. I'm really trying to get loans on the property so I can get the money and fucking haul ass.
Gotcha.
So what's happening is they know there's 3 mortgages. They know there's like $500,000 and some odd, $500,000 or $600,000 that I've got on a piece of property that's worth about $200,000, $250,000. So, but this guy doesn't seem to realize that's an issue. And it's really not. If a bank will lend you more than the house is worth, that's fine.
Yeah, that's on them at that point.
Right. And so I said I borrowed one loan from Wachovia, and she said I can only get you out like whatever, 180 or whatever. They give me like a loan for like 180, 190 or 200, whatever it is. Let's say 200. So we could only give you 200,000. I said, she then told me, I have a friend that works at SunTrust Bank, or whatever the bank was. She can get you a second mortgage. I go, so she put me in touch with this other loan officer. I called her, and I told her what I was doing, and she said, I can get you $190,000. I said, well, that's still not enough. I need to buy this other piece of property. And she said, I have a friend that can get you a HELOC. So she gave me a home equity line of credit. And she said, she can get you more. I can only give you so much because of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidelines. And I'm explaining this while the guy in Wachovia is on the phone. I said, so I only came in and applied for a loan, and they sent me somewhere else, and then they sent me somewhere else. I said, I mean, what did I do? I gave him the documents. I mean, all the documents are good because he's not saying anything's false.
So you're trying to convince the guy that you don't even know this is a problem.
I don't even know what's going on, bro. I came in, I applied for a loan. Like, that's all I know. This chick told me to call her friend. She told me to call some other guy or girl or whoever it was. And now you guys just handcuffed me. Like, what the fuck's going on?
That detective had no idea.
He's clueless, bro.
That Matt Cox was sitting in
the guy on the phone, Wachovia, is screaming.
Oh, I bet, bro.
He said, they're all first mortgages. And then he's like, you said that they weren't first mortgages.
So the cop's taking your side.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
so he's yelling. And by the way, at first he introduced himself as whatever his name was, like Detective Anderson or whatever. I'm like, or he's saying Mr. Sullivan. I go, you can call me Gary, bro. And so he then tells me, well, you can call me Dave or whatever. So and now we're like Dave and Gary. Like, we're buddies. So then the guy's yelling and screaming, and he's like, "Listen." I lean in, and I say, "Bro, it sounds to me like they got a problem at the bank." And he says, "Yeah, I think you might have a problem at the bank." Guy fucking goes nuts, screaming again, and then he starts screaming, "Look at his ID! Look at his ID! It's a fake ID."
Oh,
but it's not a fake ID. I got it from the fucking South Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles. It's a real ID. But he said, this guy's in California. So he says to the detective, he says, it starts with 000. It's a fake ID. And he goes, and so now he really fucked up. He goes, no. He said, our IDs start with 000. Then he says, and I ran him through NCIC. This is Gary Sullivan. And I go, oh, come on, bro. Now I'm not Gary Sullivan? Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
And he goes, I know, Gary, I know. And I'm
thanks, Dave.
Oh, I'm thinking, fuck, I'm getting out of here. So this guy's yelling. He said, look, I won't even know what to charge him with. I'm going to have him follow me downtown. I'm going to fill out a police report. You're going to have to talk to the district attorney. I don't even know if he's done anything wrong. I don't even know what to charge him with. So he hangs up the phone. When I stand up, and he says, do you have a driver's license? He goes, because you only have an ID in South Carolina. And I went, I said, yeah. He goes, why don't you have a driver's license? And I went, well, he goes, whose car are you driving? And I went, that's my boss's. He goes, oh, Michael. He goes, that's Michael. He goes, Michael Eckert. So he's already knows what I'm driving. He ran the plates.
Damn.
He couldn't pull up the picture, obviously. It's from, I have a driver's license in North Carolina because it's my picture. It's me.
So he was asking you these questions, already knowing the answer, kind of see if he was going to trip you up.
Right. Whose car you're driving? Like, I didn't say my car. I said, oh, that's my boss. He goes, oh, he said, your boss is, Michael Eckert? And I was like, right. So now I know right now. He knows Michael Eckert. He knows the car's registered in North Carolina. He knows my address. I have to move as soon as I leave here.
Was Michael Eckert one of the homeless people's ID that you had taken over?
No, that was a guy that I had run an ad in the newspaper and said, good credit, bad credit, no problem. He called to apply for a mortgage, which was a mistake.
Yeah, big
because
mistake.
I got all of his information and I was driving. Actually, by that point, you know what? By that point, I think I had changed his name to Michael Johnson. I legally went and changed his name to Michael Johnson, which is horrible.
This is a whole nother level.
Because I was trying to
How do you keep up with all this, man?
I was trying to figure out I was trying to formulate how to create a completely new person. Like, how do I steal your identity and then get a new social security number issued to you and then change your name, so that now it's like I got a new social in a new name.
Now you're fresh everything.
Right. And then can I get a passport? Can I then take the passport? Can I go to another country? Can I start, how do I do that so that I completely kind of pull you apart into a different person? I was already making synthetic identities. So anyway, I was just trying shit. You guys got a lot of money. Like, what if I change this guy's name?
Oh, you got some big balls, man. To be doing shit like that.
So anyway, the guy, I stand up and he goes, so you have a driver's license? He goes, so do you have a driver's license? I went, yeah. He goes, where? And I go, in Nevada. Because remember, Gary Sullivan was the homeless guy from from Vegas.
Damn, you're quick on your feet.
So
bro.
I said, in Nevada. And he goes, oh, that's right. He said, you're from Nevada. Keep in mind, he just said he pulled my NCIC. And I know that Gary Sullivan has been arrested twice for prostitution.
Oh, my
So this guy thinks I've been arrested twice for prostitution. So he goes, oh, that's right. He goes, you're from Las Vegas. And he looks at the two fucking deputies, and they both look down and kind of grin. And I thought, fuck, this guy thinks I'm a homeless he thinks I'm a prostitute.
But who cares at that point?
I know, but it's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
So he's like, he said, okay, well, he goes, is it valid? I said, I assume it's valid. And he said, so one of the sheriffs goes, I'll run it. And he takes the ID and he walks off. So he goes outside. I'm thinking if he pulls, I don't know if fucking this guy's got a fucking driver's license.
He could be in jail too, for all you know.
I mean, he could be in jail, but I don't know if he's got a driver's license. All I know is he's blowing guys for $20 a pop just off the strip. So,
golly. So how did you run into this guy?
It was a whole. You gotta buy the book.
All right. We'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah, and we were surveying people, and the chick I was with.
Yeah, that's right.
Tells me I know where there's a bunch of people you can survey. Oh, okay. So I drive to, and she drives to an area where there's prostitutes. I didn't realize he was a prostitute.
You're in the red light district.
Yeah, I thought he was a fucking homeless guy. It wasn't until the survey when I said, "Are you arrested? Have you ever been arrested?" He told me. He goes, well, yeah. He said, I've been arrested before for prostitution. And I was like...
God, so open about it, huh?
And I was like, okay.
Anyways, what's your social?
Yeah, I could give a shit. So I stand up to leave, and the cop comes back in with my ID, and he says, and he hands the ID to the detective, and the detective says, does it check out? And he goes, yeah, he's got a valid driver's license in Nevada. And he goes, oh, he said, okay. He goes, so it does it. He goes, so it checks out. He goes, well... it says he's 5'11", like, he says he's 5'10" or 5'11", something like that. He says he's 5'11", and I'm 5'6", and they all look at me, and I go, well, fellas, with a good pair of shoes, like that, and they all go, ha, follow us, and walk out. I fucking walk right out the front fucking door with the cops, get in my car, drive to the police station with the fucking one cop behind me, one in front of me.
They wanted you to follow them?
I don't know, because the one peeled off once I got to the police station. Like, he may have been going that way.
But why were you going to the police station?
He wanted me to fill out a report.
Oh, okay, I got you.
What am I going to do? Like, if you're going to let me go...
Yeah, I'll fill out...
Like, what am I going to say? Fuck you, I'm not doing no report, and walk off? He might be like, well, then you're going to come in handcuffs.
Yeah.
So it's better for me to be like, absolutely, no problem. Sure, I got nothing to do today. So I'm driving, and I remember my girlfriend at the time, she calls me. And this is a chick that was constantly... Every time I would go in the bank to do something, she would sit in the car, usually, and she would always say, what if you get arrested? And I would go, well... If I get arrested, you go get me an attorney and get me bonded out, because I'll be arrested as someone else, and even if they take my prints, if my identity's not in question, because I always have IDs, so I've got a ton of IDs on me that say I'm this person. If my identity's not in question, they're not going to run the prints right away, if ever. People don't realize, they think like back then. They might run them right away, but what really happens in small police stations is they charge them. So they you want to run it through the NCIC, they charge them to run you. So sometimes if your identity's not in question, why would you have a fucking state ID, you have credit cards in this name, like, it's you.
The stars were all aligning for you that day.
It was fucking perfect, right? Anything had gone wrong, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I'm driving back, but my girlfriend, I would say, get me out on bond. And she goes,
don't you hate when they ask you dumbass questions?
Right. And we've had this conversation 8 times.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, so she would always say, what do I do? I go give me a fuck. Why do you keep asking? I said, are you hoping that I'm going to say, take the money and run? Is that what you're, no, I'm just, forget it. She was a fucking asshole. Yeah. So anyway, I'm driving to the police station and my phone rings. I pick it up, and I mean, I got like 30 missed calls. I've been in there a while. So she's going nuts. Pick it up, I'm like, hey, what's up? She goes, oh my God, where have you been? I was like, listen, and before I could say anything, she goes, I just went on the internet. You're number one. They moved you up to number one on the Secret Service's most wanted list.
Damn, bro.
And I said, okay, listen, I got bigger problems. I said, I was just handcuffed in the bank. I'm driving to the police station. She goes, oh my God. What do you do? I go, they think I'm Gary Sullivan. I'm going to fill out a police report and I'm going to leave. And she goes, no. She goes, get on the interstate right now. Get on the interstate right now. I said, listen. the worst, I said, I can't. There's a cop car behind me. There's one in front of me. I can't. And I said, the worst that's going to happen is I'll be arrested as Gary Sullivan. All you've got to do, and she goes, I'm not getting you a lawyer. I'm not getting you out on bond. What? She goes, get on the interstate. And I'm like, I mean, how?
Was she not playing with the full deck?
No, it's like, what do you, first of all, there's 2 cop cars. Secondly, I get on the interstate, it's a fucking straight shot. Like, they're not going to have a helicopter and 50 fucking cops pull me. Like
the O.J. Simpson.
Right, what am I, are you stupid? I'm not
So
the
she's telling you to just fucking run from them?
Yeah, like, I'm not the transporter.
Damn,
I'm not going to fucking get away. I'm not going to jump my car onto a fucking train and fucking, you know, it's like, I can't get away. So I'm like, well, I better not get arrested then. And I just fucking hang up the phone. I get there, I go in the police station, I fill out the report. He tells me, and they have like cubicles, right? So I'm at the cubicle and I fill out the report, and then he says, I can't leave you in my cubicle. I got to get this signed off on by my lieutenant. Can you wait in the hallway? And I said, sure, no problem. So I go and I wait in the hallway. I go in the hallway and there's all these wanted posters. They're all black and white. There's like bike thieves, like bank robbers, like burglars, murder suspects, and there's one color fucking one, and it's my Secret Service's most wanted poster right on the wall. And if you go online, you can put Matt Cox, Secret Service's most wanted poster, and it'll pull up the poster.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of shit online, but that's funny because you can see this picture. I'm just like, holy shit. So it's there.
I would have. Was it like just pinned to the wall?
Yeah, it was just ton. I couldn't do it. Listen, everybody, why didn't you grab it? What are you talking? The moment I saw it and was like, fuck, this guy walks up behind me and he goes, hey, Gary, he said, you ready to go? I said, absolutely.
God, they're fucking idiots, bro.
Well, there's tons of them. I mean, I was, my heart at this point.
The only one you saw was yours, though.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of looking at all of them. No, but I noticed, as soon as I noticed mine, I'm like, oh, and it was in color. All the other ones were like black and white. This is in color. And I was thinking,
that's crazy. Like,
this thing is sticking out like a sore thumb. So the guy then says, hey, Gary, ready to go? So I walk we get in the elevator. And, I got guys that are always like, bro, why didn't you take off running? Like, if you've ever been in a police station, like, you ain't walking out of a police. You're not running it. There's so many levels. Like, you're getting buzzed in and you're punching in a code. To go up in the elevator, you're punching in a code.
Don't
to
you
get
love
out,
when people say that because they
watch Law and Order?
Yeah. They don't know. Like, they've never been in those types of situations.
I love the guys who are always like, bro, so how can't you get out? So can't you get out on parole? Like, there's no federal parole. There's no parole in fucking, like, almost, there's very few states that even have parole anymore. Like, I understand you heard that when you watched Goodfellas, but that's not a thing really anymore. They don't know, like, so would you save up some money in prison? Like, what do you guys do with, like, there's no money in prison. There's no cash in prison. Like, people just don't know.
Yeah.
I bet you they know more from watching Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, which is bullshit.
Right. But some of it's true. Like, make stupid shit, making your bed.
Yeah.
The commissary, got people manipulating each other. I mean, nobody's getting murdered. Well, some people are.